Oh, I don't know if this video will record right. Kind of experimenting with this thing, but if it did and I could upload it, this video would be about the new presidency of Mr. Ibrahim Raisi and the heating up of naval warfare that's going on right now and will intensify at a later stage. Well, a kind of secret naval war has been going on for some time now. Iranian military says that, hey, we have nothing to do with this stuff, but in fact, um, many UAE, they call them Emirati ships, they get confiscated, their gasoline, their oil, and also I don't know if they're doing it to Saudis, but they've been doing it to the Israelis. Well, there has been also other attacks against Iranian ships. I heard that 12 Iranian ships had been attacked, and then there were retaliations. But the way Iran retaliates is in multiple scenes. It's not in one area, and there are actually many different proxy forces everywhere in Iraq or Syria or Lebanon, and the retaliation does come, and it's painful. But the Western countries or Israel, they don't really want to broadcast it unless it hurts, but it has been hurting. I think that I heard that there was another Israeli ship that got hit today, and then there were one before, one Emirati or UAE ship got confiscated, and 4 had lost control. I guess some Iranians hacked into it, and the ship is just driving on its own somewhere. But the sanctions imposed by the United States and Israel have hurt Iranian economies tremendously. I heard a report that Iran had lost $90 billion in sales last year, and well, at the time Zarif and Rouhani were in charge, and they were real liberals, and they were not really the kind of people that the Westerners they will respect. They're very friendly, very liberal. They're kind of a group of politicians Iran has that you could use to negotiate stuff with India or Russia or South American countries. Very friendly, very laid back, kind of diplomatic. Is not suitable for dealing with criminals like U.S. administrations or Israeli Zionist criminals. They need a different kind of negotiator, and the negotiation is probably has to be done with the point of gun. But when the new Iranian government comes into power, and it does smell that the policies will shift dramatically, we have to very forcefully get rid of these sanctions and make United States and other countries understand that they cannot do this stuff. There will be more and more retaliations. Well, actually, it was difficult to get to the Americans because they pull back, and they kind of make statements, have other countries like Britain, weaker countries that are really allies of some sort because they get paid to put up their militaries or their ships, and they get their asses kicked first before the Americans. And Americans have been pulling out of Afghanistan. They pull out their ships or aircraft carriers uh, when things get hard and they know a really hard kick in the ass is coming, and they just move them into the Indian Ocean. But the Iranian military might has been growing, and there are a very large number of ships, fast boats, drones, even very advanced airplanes that are coming online with the Iranian military. And with the new hardline government, the kick in the ass is going to be very hard kick in the ass. And I think that after Mr. Raisi takes over, then they will start shooting at their aircraft carriers and U.S. ships. Well, the latest attacks had been that they were following Israeli ships. That shows a lot of hacking and identification, and they caught up with them in different places far away from Israel and attacked them. But I don't think these naval attacks will remain focused on just Israel, and we need to make a very good point with the Americans, with the Yankees, and destroy their large ships, and not only make them understand, but also smaller nations like South Korea, Romania, other countries, that they participate out of fear or out of being bribed with the U.S. Sanctions or secondary sanctions. We need to let the world know that these guys are not in charge, and they should not follow them. And if the retaliations are directed against you as a smaller nation, then you're really going to be hurting. But we should start with the United States. And right now, U.S. is engaged in money printing, feeding its population, its useless population, with all kinds of cash and amenities that is just like fattening them up. They're worth nothing. There is no manufacturing here. There is no kind of investment that you can make in United States that will make any kind of return there. Most probably will default in one form or another on all the monies that they owe, and they they have the US dollar and they parade it in the world. I don't know what kind of stupid investor keeps buying their bonds, buying their money, accept it as a payment. For example, the 10-year bond is paying like a 1.5, something like that, and the inflation is like 5%. That's what they talk about. That means that all these stupid investors, well, if the inflation is 5% over 10 years, the life of the stupid bond, that means that the bond probably will lose half its value. 5 multiplied by 10 is 50, right? 50%. Well, this year it will lose 3.5%. Well, that's if you got paid 1.5% for the entire 10-year this year. That's that's a joke. But they have this racket running, and they are going to print tremendous amount of money. They I don't know by the time they're done how much money they're gonna manufacture. That's the only thing that they are able to manufacture these days. And on local level, Many Americans are becoming more and more dysfunctional. Many companies here are extremely shady companies. They're like zombie companies. They make money from the government, from financial fraud. The individuals, or a lot of Americans, 40% or more are obese. They they're the ultimate consumer, or the consumer of last resort for whatever stuff the world makes, and wants to dump anywhere and will get paid something for it. And these guys, a few years ago, I was like making. I like to make companies, so one rule I had is that any company I make, whether it's a transportation company or is be it like any service, I just gonna have all these sales coming in, like massive quantities of sale, and then what I will get paid for would be US dollar, which means I'm gonna bust my balls and just collect all these funny money, and then usually the company, something happens to it, regulatory or otherwise, and fall into a ditch. Then I have all these worthless. Well, now it's worth something here, but oh, I wanted to discuss that many Western nations, like, well, I hope I brushed my teeth talking about the Yankees, but many many Western nations, their economy has a lot of things similar to mushrooms. It's like, like how mushrooms, they attach themselves to the dead material or the tree. It's just a small attachment with some kind of pipe channeling all the monies and all the resources to the rest of the mushroom. But the mushroom itself, most mushrooms are extremely poisonous. Kind of like the US, their culture is toxic. The mushrooms usually they have all these antioxidants, antiviral compounds. If humans make a mistake of eating the mushroom, they'll become totally poisoned. And also, when the mushrooms grow, because they are really don't have any kind of foundation or anything, the only thing that's holding them up is this attachment they have to this tree or a dead animal that was feeding them. So if anything, sometimes they fall over just from their own weight. It's kind of like similar to the US economy. Or if anything happens, that some idiot in Korea or Japan figures out, hey, this is stuff, this money is worthless. There's nothing backing it up. Maybe we should not take it anymore. It would be similar to when the mushroom falls over its head, because the thing that's holding it up is just this pipe. Well, some mushrooms you can eat them. The other thing about mushrooms and U.S. economy that are very much in common is that, for example, like the chaga mushroom, the Russians use the chaga mushroom to transport fire. Like they would make a hole in the mushroom and put a piece of coal, burning coal or something, and catches fire. But the fire stays inside the mushroom. The mushroom, because this creature is used to holding everything in, like stuffing itself. So it stuffs itself with the fire, and then the rest of the mushroom is not hot, so you can carry this mushroom that's full of fire all kinds of places, long distances, and then later on cut it open and use the fire. The same is with the United States internal affairs. Is like they got all this bullshit going on, and they got civil liberties and movements and social upheavals, and sometimes have mass shootings, and there's like it looks like all kinds of stuff is happening here, but they are just as useless as any poisonous mushroom. They don't manufacture anything. They don't inspire the world. Like Islamic civilization inspire the world. The Germans, they brought all these mathematics and nuclear physics and quantum physics. Well, over here we have none of that stuff, but we have the all this shit going on. Anyhow, see what happens at the end. But I think the naval warfare will intensify. It will be more directed toward Israel and United States, their ships and their aircraft carriers, maybe culminate in closing of Hormuz waterway, and also making a very good point with the U.S. Government and all these mini little fascist states that are looking after their shit, and then well, maybe the world will stop tormenting us, holding our oil money hostage in different Western banks. I think the best strategy with the Yankees is to grab their people, because when we had their diplomats in custody, they would they would negotiate in very good faith. When in their own little buttholes are involved, oh my God, they got the big checkbook too. Well, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel and my Instagram, and please don't be shy, comment and subscribe.